Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Creag Munroe, founder of Elegant Literature. I'm here with August head judge Nicky Shearsby. Welcome, Nicky. Thank you for being here with us today.
Hi, no, lovely to be with you. Thanks for asking me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you are a thriller author, that's right?
That's correct. Yes, I write psychological thrillers. Darker the better.
That's my alley. And so you have recently published your debut novel, and you have been contracted for 4 books off the strength of that first one.
Actually, I've been contracted for a six
For
with
six.
with an ongoing series next year in September. The first book of an ongoing series called The Flanagan Files is due to come out, and that series, excuse my dog popping up there, that series basically will follow one character through his journey as he's talking to different, or going through different case files. It's basically anyone with mental health issues such as serial killers. Obviously that's quite a serious mental health condition, and it's an ongoing series, that one. So hopefully the next 30 years worth of books is in the pipeline.
You're going to be very prolific over the coming years because you're going to be publishing 2 books a year. Is that right?
That's correct. That's the hope anyway, until I get really tired and then it goes down to one. But my publisher has said, don't push myself. If I can only get one, he's more than happy to do the one. But I'm just always busy. So if I wasn't writing every day, I think I'd go stir crazy. So I do one standalone, which usually comes out in the spring. And then my new ongoing Flanagan Files series will start every autumn. So really excited about that.
Oh, and that's fantastic too. What a great scheduler for you, because you get to do one of a series every year, and you also get to do one standalone one. So you get to write more about
Absolutely.
whatever you want and get a break from the grind.
Absolutely. So I get to follow one character as he's going through all these different cases because he's a clinical psychologist. But I also then get to completely go off piste with other thriller type stories as well. So it's going to be really fun.
Yeah, fantastic. So obviously you love thrillers. You're not, because you didn't mention that you might write a contemporary romance or a Western sci-fi or something in there. Just thrillers for you.
So we have decided that thrillers will be my main genre. I did try other avenues. I tried a romance. It was just a bit I tried supernatural, historical. It just wasn't working for me. But when I wrote my debut, and the publishers absolutely loved it, and they said, "Please, can I just stick to thrillers?" They think that's where my forte lies. So I'm really excited about that. And I do. I feel like I've actually found the genre that I really do enjoy writing. I just love writing about murderers and death and psychopaths.
It's the classic writer. Do you Google all the ways to hide bodies and things like that?
Always. My bookshelf is full of serial killer books.
Yeah.
How to murder your neighbor, things like that.
That's great. Tell us a little bit about your first book, your debut book, because that's the only book that's currently out, even though you have this entire thing lined up for the next decade of your life. Your first book is the one that people can get their hands on right now. It's called
That's
To the Bitter
correct.
End, correct?
Absolutely, yes. So that basically follows a protagonist who is pushed to literally to the bitter end, and he follows the storyline. Actually, follows him going through some quite serious consequences to the actions that he actually starts. So it starts off quite nasty. There's a lot of nasty things that happen to a friend of his, and as the novel progresses, you actually see that he's becoming more and more aggressive towards the responses that he's getting back. I don't want to give too much of the plot away, but there's lots of twists, and the end is absolutely, in my opinion, it works so well. And the feedback that I've got from it, it's been just amazing. Yeah, my second novel, which is coming out in 2 weeks' time, I'm even more excited about that because that's a duology. So there's 2 novels. So the next one is out in March. So it's a lovely ongoing thread of novels that I'll be doing.
Awesome. Is and the next one, that's called Green Monsters, right?
That's correct.
And is
Yeah.
that in any way related to the Bitter End?
No, completely different character, different storyline altogether. So To the Bitter End was literally something that had been in my mind for a while. I just wanted to, because my writing touches on mental health, and I wanted readers to actually see from a different side, literally the different side of life the things that you wouldn't necessarily assume that you would do if you were put into a specific situation. So when I wrote To the Bitter End, it almost triggered something in my mind that made me think, I actually really quite like writing from the antagonist side of things, because although I know it's very strange, To the Bitter End, he was the good guy pushed to do bad things, whereas my subsequent novel Green Monsters and Black Widow, which is the sequel to that, it's actually written from the antagonist's viewpoint.
Oh, very interesting.
So it basically, I'm directly in the mind of a psychopath.
And that's where you want to be as the thriller writer, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Fantastic. Are your books inspired off anything? Are they purely conjectured stories that you've just made up from you reading all these thriller works and things like that, or they have any roots in a personal space for you?
To be honest with you, I've not really read that many thrillers that I've really felt an affinity to. I just felt there was something missing in the genre that needed an extra, almost a fresh approach to the way thrillers were written. I actually trained as a psychologist a few years ago, and I did life coaching and counselling, and I've seen from the other side how mental health really does affect people in all different ways, from depression all the way up to schizophrenia and bipolar and everything in between. So my writing actually focuses on the journeys that these people go when their minds start twisting things around. And with Green Monsters especially, you see the main character go from being just a slightly bit jealous of her sister's life to completely turning into an absolute psychopath. And you see the mental transition as the story goes along. I'm quite proud of it, actually. I feel like that's how I want to write from now on.
Very cool. And so you have the experience of working with people with these troubles and problems. So you're not just making it up as you go, or are you consulting with experts, or are you feel like you have enough experience that you can do it justice in your writing without sort of...
I've known a few. I know it sounds really strange, but I've known a couple of psychopaths and plenty of narcissists, and I've dealt with a lot of people with mental health issues. So it's almost a perfect transition into what I'm doing now. It's interesting. And I'm really enjoying it.
Is there any trouble? Do you have any trouble with, like, when writing about mental health, I imagine you'd have to be fairly careful with how you portray it, because everybody has their different journeys, and it's a sensitive issue, of course. And you're also writing about murderers and killers and things like that. How do you straddle that line?
Because I write from the first person viewpoint, I'm able to be inside the characters' heads. So I look at it from a very sympathetic viewpoint. I look at my writing as if I was that person, and their emotions and feelings are always forefront of every single paragraph. So the reader is not only hearing about what these people are getting up to, they're actually understanding more about why they're doing what they do. And I feel like it's actually taken my writing to a completely new level. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see what people think about Green Monsters, purely because it's very rarely people write from the viewpoint of the antagonist in first person.
It's not common at all.
No, it's completely opposite to me. I couldn't be any different, to be honest with you. But when I write, I'm almost flipping who I am on my head, and I'm becoming somebody that I would never be in life. And I think that's why I find it so exciting, because I'm able to empathise with people that most people in the street wouldn't understand necessarily. For instance, you wouldn't walk past a psychopathic serial killer and assume that they were a serial killer. You would just walk past them and think they were just some
normal person, of course.
And it always makes me smile when you see on the news where people say, "Oh, he was such a nice man. I would never have realised that he was like that." And you think, well, do you think they have signs on their faces saying I'm a serial killer? So it's about getting inside their head and actually understanding it and empathizing with them to some degree. And obviously you're not rooting for them, but you understand. And most of my characters do have quite prolific endings, so they do get their justice in the end. But yes, sometimes the endings are slightly unexpected as well. You get that nice little twist that people like.
Of course, that's definitely great. So what's been your writing journey as you make these books? You said you experimented with some of these other genres. Did you write full novels of them and pitch them and find that wasn't working, or did you write short stories? And how did you get through to find yourself in this thriller space?
Basically, I've been writing for about 20 years, but I've been writing non-fiction. Sorry, I just put the dog away. So I've been writing non-fiction, and not so much when the pandemic hit, but when I started to realise that when you get a bit bored of life and you think, do I really want to carry on going down this same path forever? And I decided just in my spare time just to start writing this novel. And I had the idea for it and how I wanted it to go. And my husband was absolutely brilliant. He came up with the ending. He helped me kind of add a few twists and turns. So it
like
was
a
really
team,
good.
writing duo.
Yeah, absolutely. No, nice team. Yeah, we've always been a good team. But when I finished it, I was just really quite interested to see what someone else might have thought. So I just, on the off chance, I just sent it off to a publisher who focused on thrillers, and their ethos was basically to tell stories from a slightly different angle, which is exactly where I was coming from. And I really liked their ethos. So I just sent to the bitter end over, I think it was about May time 2021. And then within 4 weeks, he offered me a contract.
Oh, fantastic.
And just like that. Yeah, and he was, yes, we absolutely would love to work with you, Nicky. He sent me the contract. I sent in the full manuscript, and he basically asked me what else I was doing, and the rest is history. So
can you write more of these? That's the dream, isn't it? You get
It is, and I never expected it to be that easy, because I speak to writers all the time, and it is a hard slog. It is trying to get out there, trying to get in front of agents and readers and publishers. So yeah, I'm so grateful that he took a chance on me, and they're great. They're really lovely people to work with as well. They're very forward-thinking publishing company.
Oh, that's good. What's the name of the company?
It's SRL Publishing.
SRL Publishing.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Did you do a lot of research to find them?
I did, yes. I think I spent a couple of weeks. It was one of those things. Should I send it off? Should I self-publish it? Should I just do it as a hobby? And my husband said, just send it out. If you don't hear anything back from it, you've lost nothing. It's something you really enjoy doing. And I sent it to two different publishers. The first one was one of the bigger ones, and they said, we loved it, but not quite in the style we want. Basically, they were looking for something a bit more mainstream, female fiction. And then I sent it obviously to SRL, and straight away he said it's exactly what they were looking for. So yeah, they've contracted me for 6 novels with my ongoing series obviously in the pipelines, and they're really excited to see each year now as to how I can develop that character.
And so have you transitioned from what you were doing before? You mentioned that you were working with people with mental health issues, and was that your day job? Was that something you did?
No, it
was
really
your volunteering
wasn't.
or just
No, I actually manufactured skincare products for 10 years, and I got to the stage where the market was becoming flooded with an organic skincare. Everybody was doing it, and although the business was really successful, my husband's health was getting slightly poorer because he had a spinal injury. So he wasn't able to work as much as he did, and he was having to slow down. So I felt it was the absolute perfect time for me to sell my business, carry on with my life coaching and my psychology as a spare time thing, because it was always something I slotted around anyway, and then go into writing fiction. So it kind of, everything transitioned perfectly.
Everything worked out very well for you there. And so now fiction writing is your full-time job?
It is, yes, indeed, absolutely. Everything else I was doing has now taken a shelf, and I'm now, yes.
As it has to when you get contracted for 6 books out the gate.
Absolutely, yes, indeed. So yes, I'm loving it. I really am. I feel like I've finally found the one thing I was born to do.
Oh, that's fantastic. That is always what we want, and that's inspiring to hear, especially for anybody watching, that there's no time limit or anything. It's not something where you were writing since you were 12 and finally broke in at a later date. You've managed to just pursue your dreams, right?
Absolutely, yeah, indeed. I always said when I retire, I would love to write fiction. So it's been in my head for years. So being able to sell my business and actually having that freedom to step back and actually think, okay, where do I go from here?
And you retired and started writing fiction.
Indeed, absolutely. Yeah, it was nice. It was a nice transition, to be honest.
You went according to plan.
It did.
Yeah, that is great. You have quite a large following on social media, I've noticed, and I was wondering,
I do.
did that come about after you published your book, or had you built that before you even approached the publisher, or how have you?
No, Instagram was one of those things that I actually joined in July last year. And it was a case of I'd got my website set up and I'd got my first novel out, ready to go out and get published in February. And I thought, crikey, I'd better get some social media accounts set up. So I thought Instagram, perfect. Didn't really do an awful lot. I only had about 100 or 200 people on there and thought I was doing great. And then in December, I realised that actually, if I wanted to get serious and actually talk to people every day and actually communicate with potential readers, Twitter was the one that I needed. So I set up my Twitter account in December last year, and I think it's just reached 34,000. So quite proud of that. And I'd have no
Yeah,
idea
absolutely.
how it's grown so fast.
That's quite a huge number of followers, especially for a new author. Did you employ any special strategies or anything? Like, have you just been getting in the community and talking, or how have you gone about building your
Because
audience there?
stop it. He's barking at one of the ornaments on my shelf.
He wants to be held and hang out in front of the camera. I can't complain about
um,
that. He's cute.
Yeah, so basically, because I ran skincare, I ran a graphic design business as well. So I design all my own covers, which is another aspect
Oh,
that I've
fantastic.
actually been able to achieve. I've designed websites, obviously speaking to all different kinds of people, all from all different walks of life. The one thing that I have actually learned, which I'm actually showing lots of other people on Twitter as well, is that you never ever sell a product. People will buy people, but they won't buy your service. If you're just somebody just constantly plugging your books all the time, people will just get so fed up of seeing it that they'll just switch off. Whereas I find if you actually talk to people and get to know people, they get to know you. And then in turn, they eventually will buy your products. And it really does work. And it's not something that people understand very well. They think, oh, I'm trying
Yeah.
to sell a book. What do they want to know me for? But people do. They want to actually to know who's behind services and products that they're buying.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you've just gone on Twitter and just talked to people, and because I know a lot of elegant literature is a lot of new authors and new writers and aspiring talent. And one of the advice that new writers frequently get, especially if they want to self-publish, especially, but also sometimes they want to traditionally publish, is we hear that publishers look for somebody with an audience already, because if you have a big audience, you're more likely to sell books. And so one of the biggest advices new authors get all the time is build a platform, and you've clearly done that. And I was wondering if you could share any particular technique or strategy that you used to build that platform that a new author might be able to start using themselves.
Absolutely, yeah. One of the biggest things I always think is if you're setting up a website or a shop front or even a market stall, the first thing people are going to see is your brand, so to speak. And as an author, people forget that they have a brand. It's not just their name on the front of a book. They are their personality, that everything they write, everything they post on social media is a projection of themselves out to the world. So my tweets, I try to post every day. They're always about writing, asking about their books, what people are doing, just engaging the writing community, because there's so many writers out there that are just stuck for advice and support. So by opening discussion threads, it could be the simplest question, but if it opens a dialogue, then other authors get to talk to each other. Readers get to then see what comments people have put in. They can put their own input in, and it's valuable. And I think that's why Twitter to me is so important, because it opens dialogue and it gets people talking. Whereas Instagram, Facebook, there's so many,
Just
but
look at a picture, of course.
absolutely, it is. They're pretty pictures with nice little comments, and then people put lots of little likes on them, and it's all very sweet and cute. But the mentality is quite shallow. The prettiest pictures win.
Yeah.
So obviously, like with the selfie culture and everything, but with Twitter, you're actually talking to people all the time. So I would never ever post anything offensive. I would never engage in anything that's quite political or racist or any kind of hate-based conversation. And then if I do get aggressive people coming back to me for whatever reason, I'm always as nice to them and as diplomatic as I can be. And 9 times out of 10, they're quite shocked, and they almost make friends with you. They say, "Oh, sorry, we didn't actually realise how nice you were."
I've heard about that kind of thing happening all the time. You just be nice to angry people, and they end up being nice people that just went wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. They've just misinterpreted certain things. And as soon as you start talking to them, you realise that actually you're opening up a real nice conversation, and everybody's got an opinion. And it's nice to be able to share thoughts without being told to have a specific way of doing things. So that's obviously the best way I can advise people is just go on there and just talk to people and just get out there
and be interested in actually meeting them and not self-serving. I would imagine is you don't want to talk to them just so that at the end of the 10-minute conversation you can plug your book. You want to talk to them to get to know them and actually make friends in the writing community, and maybe keep in touch. I bet with 34,000 followers, you can't possibly be keeping in touch in a meaningful way with a lot of them.
No, absolutely. The good thing with Twitter is if you find that you're speaking to people quite a lot, you can obviously check the little notification button. So whenever they tweet, you see what they say, because your feed, your timeline will never ever show everybody that you've got on your followers list. It is just impossible. And obviously the more people you get, the less engagement other people might have with you. But yeah, so it's about not connecting with everybody, but just being there for everybody and being able to respond to anybody that's put a comment on your thread. And I always say my tweets are not tweets, they're discussion threads. And if you see some of my writing questions, they sometimes generate a few hundred responses, and then other people will then talk, and it sets up a really nice conversation. And it's a great way of actually going on somewhere. And if you're stuck as a writer and you're not quite sure, if you've got certain aspects of your writing that you're not sure on, being able to actually look at a discussion thread and actually find answers from other people, it's ideal.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. I was also wondering, how do you stay so active on Twitter? Because I'm following you and I see you have lots of conversations with many people, and it's fantastic, but you also write full time. So how do you, and I imagine that writing and Twitter aren't your only 2 activities in a day. So how do you structure your time to manage everything?
I treat it as a full-time job. So I break my day down into sections. So for instance, my writing, I will write solid for between 9 and 1. And then I obviously can't include the coffee breaks in that, obviously, got to have them.
Yeah.
But I will always put my tweet on, say around 8, half 8 in the morning. I'll do a catch up. I'll get back to anybody that's messaged me during the night. I'll obviously add any new followers that I've had for that evening. Then I get down to a nice writing session. A couple of coffees later, I will then basically go back on Twitter, and usually my afternoons are usually then spent catching up with people, emails, messages, tweets, and putting fresh posts on, and obviously then figuring out what I'm going to be tweeting for the following day. So it's like a full-time job, but I get to do it from the comfort of my own home with my coffee and my dog, as you can tell.
Absolutely. Is maintaining this Twitter audience in any way required by your publisher?
Oh, he's quite surprised, actually. He did say to me, if I figure out how I'm getting that so many followers, to let him know, because he wants some.
Yeah, I'm sure many people would love accounts with high followers to share it around.
I am very grateful. I really am very humbled and grateful for the support I've had so far. It's lovely. It just shows that there's so many amazing people that are ready to connect with you. And I always say that to anybody that's talking to me on Twitter, it isn't about how many followers, it's about the connections you're making along the way. Because the more people you're talking to, the more people will see you, and then more people will add you. So it almost becomes like a massive network that you're actually tapping into.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you noticed an increase in book sales? Are you able to directly correlate that to Twitter in any way, or is it?
Absolutely. I've had reviews on Amazon already that have said, I've bought this book because I found the author on Twitter, and they said it never ever happened. So I'm really grateful, actually, that I've been able to get out through this channel. So it's been really interesting. But yes, fingers crossed, my second novel is now obviously generating a lot more interest because people have read my first. Those that haven't read my first have come in and found me now ready for when I do get my second novel out. So it's almost building a catalogue of novels. So hopefully in 10 years' time, when I've got 20 novels out there, new people will find me and then start going back and finding my writing that I've done.
Yeah, reading your backlist.
That
would be fantastic. It's kind of a dream. Yeah.
It is, definitely.
So, you are the judge for the August contest for Elegant Literature.
Yes, excited. Thank you so much for asking me.
Oh, of course. And so you helped me pick the theme was Killer Instincts. And what does that theme say to you? How does it speak to you?
Obviously, because your writers are from all different backgrounds, all different genres, but I'm really grateful that you was able to hone that into a loose thriller theme for me, because obviously that's what I write and that's what I prefer to read. But Killer Instinct it's for everybody, isn't it? Everyone has that killer instinct in them to do well in life as well as to go out murdering people.
I suppose you could,
speaking, of course.
A businessman who's laser focused on a promotion could have the killer instinct, or on
Absolutely.
a sale or something like that. Yeah,
Definitely.
the sale is a killer instinct. Doesn't have to be actually bloodthirsty. That's
Absolutely. You don't have to go out with a machete in your pocket for that to work.
Fantastic. And so I'm very excited to have you judge. How you're very excited as well.
I am, very much so. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be such a refreshing thing. It's going to be a nice change of pace as well for my day to actually sit and read new talent. Very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, fantastic. And you'll be giving an award to a new author as well, our $3,000 award.
Lovely. That'd be so nice, won't it? Just to be able to do that for somebody else, it's going to be amazing. And yeah, well done for doing that, for setting that up.
Thank you. It's what I love to do. So fingers crossed, somebody watching this video is going to be speaking to you in a few weeks to talk about their winning story, and then you can award them the $3,000. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to reading all the Killer Instinct stories. I know it's going to be fun. So that's yeah, it's exciting. Oh, there was one other thing that I wanted to talk about before we finish here, is that your book, To the Bitter End, has recently it was nominated and become a finalist in the UK Page Turner Award. Is that right?
That's right. Yes, indeed. Very excited about that.
Yeah, I can imagine. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what that award is, what it means, and how you feel about being nominated? And making the finalists.
So the Page Turner Awards is basically, there's quite a few different categories in the actual awards itself, and mine is the book award, which is the biggest category, and it's for published authors that have had a book published within a specific time, which obviously is 2022, which mine was in February, and I think they said they'd had over 1,000 entries.
Oh, wow.
So to be a finalist, exactly, to be a finalist is just so humbling. It's just so amazing that somebody has read my work and has taken the time to actually see that I'm one of those writers that deserves recognition, which is absolutely wonderful. I think they are announcing the winner in October, I think they said, so still a ways to go yet, but I'm just so grateful to have got that far. If I don't get any further, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Do you know how many people are on the short list for the finalists? How many other books?
They haven't. I think they said they are announcing the short list in September, and then the winners will be in October. Yeah, I'm in the dark on that one.
Is there a prize or anything awarded with it, or is it an award that's recognition and expertise based? They
say there's over £40,000 worth of prizes, but what they are, I have no idea. I know it's definitely not £40,000 in cash. I wish, but no. I
Big
think
bag with a money sign on it.
Indeed, but to be honest, it doesn't bother me at all. It's just to be able to say that I'm an award-winning author would be just green.
It sounds to me like you were never in it for the money here. You didn't start writing with the idea of becoming a big famous author and making bags of money. You started with the idea of approaching stories from a unique mental health standpoint to add something to the thriller genre.
Absolutely, to add something to the marketplace. Definitely. I always think if you chase money, you'll never ever find it. It'll always be out of reach. But if you chase passion and actually do something because you really love to do it, then your success will just automatically follow you. And I have lived by that for a long time because it's true. So I just love what I do, and I'm so grateful that other people have actually now picked up on that and are reading my books because they hopefully can see my passion.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure some people will be checking into you after seeing this video and having this great conversation. Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading Green Monsters. It sounds quite cool, and the Flanagan Files coming out. Sounds exciting.
Yeah,
And it sounds like for anybody that reads your books and likes them, it sounds like they're going to be having a steady stream of them to read for the next decade or so.
Yeah, at least for the next 30 years, definitely.
As long as you can keep
I'll
it
be
up.
old then. I might be a bit tired.
A bit slower. Is this something that you plan on doing forever? Is this something that you'll do and then retire from, or is this you're going to keep writing books as long as you possibly can?
As long as I can come up with the ideas, and as long as I feel that my books are good enough to be seen and read by others, then I will carry on doing it. I have a file on my computer with all the different ideas and concepts that I've got in the pipeline, and I think there's about 35 in there at the moment, so enough material for the next 15 years. And I'm already adding to it. I think there's about 16 Flanagan Files books ready to be developed.
Oh, wow.
And I'll be starting the second one. I'll be starting writing the first draft of that from October onwards. So that will be for 2025.
Wow. And that's quite a fast pace for writing and publishing books as well. Definitely. Do your editors do the publishers go through a lot of editing with you, or is there when you
Yeah, absolutely.
How long does it take you to write a book before you send it off? Because 2 a year is obviously a sort of 6 months to write the book and then have it be edited.
Yeah, between myself and my publishers, we've actually worked out a really nice schedule. I'm actually at the moment, I'm 4 books ahead of where I need to be.
Oh, good.
I'm actually now writing a 5th book. There's 4 coming out. So for the next 2 years, the publishers already have the material ready to go. So they've already started doing all the editing and everything. My main aim is to actually make sure that whenever I submit a book to the publishers, I give them a full 12 months before it is released. So it gives them plenty of time to edit it, to actually format it, make sure that the book covers are perfect, make sure everything is absolutely spot on. And then obviously it gives them 6 months then after that to do all the marketing and the advertising and the pre-orders. They like to get my books ready for pre-order at least 6 months before they actually come out. So yeah, moving forward in the future, hopefully we'll have a real nice, steady, ongoing relationship of things that are constantly happening.
Yeah, definitely. Fantastic. So, Nicky, thank you so much for coming with us today. I'm so excited for you to be the judge. And while you are the judge right now, it is August. The Killer Instinct contest is on. So you must be excited as the submissions roll in to be judging the shortlist coming up.
Absolutely. And I've already told everybody if they're going to submit, they've got to make sure they do it before the 31st of August.
Yes, definitely. They got to get it in before the 31st of August, because that's when that's when this month, the Killer Instinct, your contest, will close for submissions, and we'll roll over to the next one. But anybody who wants a chance for you to read their story and perhaps award them $3,000 has got to get it in by August 31st and go according to Killer Instinct. So
definitely.
Yeah, I'm very excited. It was wonderful to have this chat with you and get to know more about you and your writing and your journey. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Absolutely lovely speaking to you today. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye. Oh, no, I wasn't recording. I'm joking.
Gosh, don't do that to me.